everybody. Welcome to another edition of NCW, also known as New Comic Wednesday. If you haven't been with us before, we chat for a few minutes every Wednesday about Zenescope's newest releases. If you don't know who I am your NCW host, which you just saw in those lovely video credits made by our very own Noah. And thank you so much for joining us here today. We haven't gotten together in 2 weeks. Last NCW, I was actually in Philly, but I was doing some stuff. And so we missed Valentine's Day. We did kind of celebrate, but I thought you guys would like my lovely Valentine's Day balloon that I have. Should we take bets on how long this balloon is going to have helium? Like, how long will this last? Do we think a week, 2 weeks? Will I be doing a Valentine's Day special in June? I don't know. But yay, it's Valentine's Day, or it was Valentine's Day. Anyway, so if you're joining us for the very first time, where you can get our Comixology, our books, and now I'm jumping ahead, is on Comixology, although I am interested to know how much longer that will be on because of all of the recent news on Comixology, so stay tuned. But you can also get our latest releases at Zenescope.com and press new releases. You can also head to any local comic shop and shout out Zenescope. And you can subscribe to a handful of our stories, our titles, our arcs. If they don't have Zenescope, make sure that you ask them to carry Zenescope. On top of that, so you never miss an NCW, any of our live streams, and you saw it right at the beginning, make sure that you always subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you like, you react, you comment, any way that you possibly can to be involved. Let me push my balloon string out of the video frame. Hi, everybody. So yeah. It's been very, very, very lovely. Okay, I'm going to jump in. Today we only have one release, and it's our latest Grimm Fairy Tales. And God, are you guys getting sick of having Dave on this show? Because I am too. JK, Dave. Dave's also in the background, like, I'm sick of coming on NCW. That's not true. He loves you guys. And one day he'll crack. One day before NCW, I'll drink with Dave, and then we'll do a surprise NCW, and then he'll unveil what his favorite cover is after he has a few beers in him. I believe it's possible. But today's release is Grimm Fairy Tales, volume number 2, number 69. Hey, $3.99 in our web store, written by our own Dave Franchini, who will be on here just in a moment. Here are my 4 incredible covers. Casey, pop those up. Let me know which is your favorite cover. I'll give you a chance to check it out. So tell me what your favorite cover is in the comments. I'm sure Dave will tell me. I was very interested in cover B when I saw B. There are 4 very, very strong covers. Cover B, I was like, what is the story about before I started reading it? See something come out of this guy's eye. Is he the guy that begged for his family in the opening scene of this story? Which I felt really bad for that guy. It was like, I have a family, and then he died anyway. Spoiler alert, you know. I guess this monster doesn't really care about families. But as always, here are all of our lovely covers. So without further ado, I will read the synopsis. He has risen and the invasion has already begun. Now Skye Mathers and her allies must defend against an evil that the world has not seen since the dawn of man. 40 pages. Again, all of our Grimm Fairy Tale stories are $3.99 because it's our flagship series. And we have a release every month, every other month, depending on the story arc. So without further ado, here is Dave. Dave, are you joining us on an iPad or a phone? Tell me.
No, my computer today.
I don't believe it. Did you give up on the iPads because they always have like terrible service?
Well, last time I had used my phone because it was terrible. But no, just my computer. And then, to answer a few of your questions from behind the scenes, I like doing this stuff. I don't always have the time to do this stuff, but I like doing it because I like talking about our comics.
You know what I thought would be fun? If we opened up this interview today with the man who was murdered in the opening scene about who said, I have a family. Okay. If we could give him a backstory on a family, what would his backstory be? Like, how many kids does he have? Is he married? Is he divorced? What do you think?
This could be a whole issue by itself. You're ruining the story. I mean, obviously he's probably not he's probably not a great person because he's in a cult that's worshiping ancient older and great one gods and stuff like that. And he's kind of been okay with other monsters being around him. and that like the literal looking devil is what freaked them out, not the giant winged monsters and other creatures there.
This is
So
fair.
I'm assuming he's probably not. He's probably got a nice family. I mean, they might not know what he gets up to, but I mean, they're never going to know now. Spoiler from the first 3 pages and then the rest of the issue. But
so I know we talk about Buffy a lot on this show, but have you ever seen season 3, The Zeppo, which is the episode with Xander? Did you ever watch that much Buffy?
I remember watching the first couple. I didn't watch the last season. So I watched, I tried to rewatch it when I got Netflix years ago when it was on Netflix. So I mean, if what else happened in that episode, I might remember pieces of it.
So it was season 3, so you maybe saw it. So basically what it is Buffy and all of the other characters are having the story arc where it's the end of the world. But Xander, the side character in the story, for those who have never seen Buffy, Aaron agrees with me, the Zeppo is fantastic. Xander is having this complete other side story that has nothing to do with the side story. So it's like all the side characters and what Buffy goes through is like what you're thinking. Like, oh, why are these people running around and worried about things? So Xander's having this like side character storyline where he's actually secretly saving the world and nobody wants it. And maybe that's what we need, right? Like, and I guess that's kind of all guts, no glory, right? Like these are the side characters, but it would be funny if we just had like an issue that was told from the perspective of like passenger number 3 of a storyline.
Well, I don't know. There's stories out there. I mean, there's a few that we can do. I mean, maybe there's a few in production. Who knows? But no, not for this. Nothing for this.
Yeah, that's what it is. Dave is probably secretly saving the world. So I guess let's talk a little bit about this issue. So Grimm Fairy Tales number 69. What? I know. Sorry, I have to.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because
everybody has to.
Well, it's also somebody that worked on the book too. They're like, "Is it cool if I tag this?" Like, it's issue 69. I was like, "Yeah, you gotta do whatever you want. I don't care."
So let's talk a little bit about, I like to talk about the bubbles sometimes. And so sometimes we get 2 different types of bubbles, right? We get the talkie bubbles, the regular ones that you guys all see, the white ones. Then you sometimes get they're not bubbles, but they're like the rectangles, which is usually somebody in their internal thoughts sharing something in the past that has happened. In this one, we get red bubbles.
Well, that's just to kind of signify that his voice is different than like a normal human's voice. And it's kind of like, and gives him his own like it's also too like he's a bigger character. If you notice too, like when Skye does have inner narration, or when we do it in Belle, or we do it in Robin, they have specific colors to them. And this is so when you see like stuff come up later, you kind of like oh, that's what's a cold talking. So if it's somebody talking off panel or something like that, you're like, oh, that's what's his name's speech bubble. You hope people remember it. It probably works better when you collect it in like a paperback. And you're like, oh, I've seen all these red bubbles. And then all of a sudden there's somebody talking off panel. And you're like, I know who that is. But
and we really also get these like gray bubbles with the vibrations. And that's further on in the story.
Well, that's what's it called? That's the Starspawn speech. But he's talking. He doesn't use his mouth to speak. He speaks with his or her, its mind. So it's interesting. That's why it doesn't have any tails. Like if you notice, like none of the bubble doesn't have any like little like wisps coming off of it. It's because it's not being spoken from a mouth. It's being like delivered straight to their brains.
So this is everyone's 101 bubble lesson. I feel like that's pretty interesting actually, because I like to look at the bubbles and then that's how I start determining different storylines. But I was like, ooh, we have red bubbles and we have gray bubbles. And I like when we get the rectangle bubbles.
Well, yeah, I mean, the rectangles too, they're normally like, they're either inner narration or they would be like just overall narration. So like sometimes you'll just say like white narration. And normally that's just kind of like a narrator narrating what this character has been through. Like some writers use that to kind of catch up on stories and things like that. But like most, when you see different colors, like purple or whatever it is, it's supposed to be that character's thoughts. And then also, I mean, like Taylor's awesome. I mean, all of our letters are awesome, but like Taylor's really good, especially for these issues. And like even now in some of the stuff where we ask them like, oh, all right, we're going to have them scream, but we're going to start off with them like saying a word where it's like, yeah, and then it's Y-E. And then when it gets to the A-H, you start wrapping the bubble because it's kind of coming out of the bubble and stuff like that. So those are like, I don't know, they're different things that kind of play with like the way you read the words, because we don't have sound, we don't have anything to be like, oh, they're yelling or they're screaming or they're whatever, they're upset. So it's more, you got to play with the size of the text, and you got to play with all the different bubbles, like, or if they're whispering, you just make it really tiny, but you can still read it, like things like that.
So when, and just FYI for backstory, I've actually had Taylor on before for the people who watch all the time. But if you haven't watched in a very long time, I think our interview was about a year ago. So you should really ask him to come on. But a lot of people cite that as their favorite NCW because, you know, that's just a world that we don't understand or we don't know. And he dived in so much about lettering and how interesting that is. So if you haven't seen that, make sure that you go back in the past. But let's jump a little bit to the storyline. So we're now on number 69. Some stuff's happening. Obviously, we have the devil-looking creature. We've got Spawn, who speaks with vibrations. We're just gaining all these monsters. I thought that, you know, things were getting a little better after we jumped universes. It kind of feels like things are getting better.
I mean, we don't want to tell boring stories where it's just
or
like Shang.
We could side story idea, okay?
Yeah, Shang's just retired on a beach, digging holes with his feet. You know, normal stuff. Well, the Red Devil guy is actually, for longtime readers, he's the Dark One. He was our main villain in Grimm Fairy Tales for, I don't know, since the beginning. So he was always, since the first volume. And he died at the end of the first volume. He died in Grimm Fairy Tales, like I think it was like 112 or something like that. I forget. I have it mentioned in one of the books, but he died like towards the end of the last volume. So this is the first time anybody, like any of our characters, have seen him in over like 75 issues.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're brought him back. I mean, this is basically the middle of the story arc, the middle of the big Cthulhu Lovecraft arc. So this is kind of just like setting up to where it's going to get a little bit crazier even past this, which hopefully people like.
I just want to show a picture of him. So I'm like, let me pop this up. You can see him in the cover, but I was like, oh, I feel like it would be nice if everybody could see. So take a moment to just share my screen so you guys can check out our lovely vibrating creature, who you said was a girl?
Well, I mean, we don't really go into its gender. It's just it's a Starspawn. So I don't necessarily know if it has what we would think as male or female parts. I really won't want to figure it out either. Like it's just kind of this alien monster being that has a bigger purpose. That will, starting with this issue, we'll start seeing it spread out through Mystere and Robin Hood and other stories coming up.
Yeah, I'll leave him, her, it, they, I don't know, gender fluid creature on the screen for all purposes, just so people can continue to see. But it kind of just amazes me and impresses me that we go from storyline to storyline, but all of our villains look so seamless, beautiful, and creative every single time. Like, it kind of looks like these tentacles, but it's also, is that a tentacle? I don't really know. And it kind of looks like it's coming out of its cheeks, but it doesn't have like tentacle things.
Well, really sure. It is. It's an evolved form of this. Like you see it in the back of the cover of the A cover.
Yeah.
That was like when it was like a baby. That's like when it's a baby, and then it's evolved to this giant monster form because of the more basically brain energy and life it's absorbed. It made it grow. That was kind of what you see a little bit in the beginning, where the guy gets the life sucked out of him.
Yeah, just this opening scene I'll share with everybody right here, where he's like, I have to get to my family, and then I have a family, doesn't even care, no regard for the family, and that's all you need to know.
Well, to its defense, it doesn't speak English.
That's fair.
Yeah, until it absorbs them.
Okay, I'll stop sharing so I don't just unveil the entire issue within the first, before anyone gets it. But
new comic Wednesday, where we just read the entire issue to you.
Why? We should, one NCW should be like comic book theater, right? Except maybe I'll just read the whole thing and we'll dive in and talk about it, and maybe we'll gain some new readers on that aspect. Anyway, so Grimm Fairy Tales now headed on to Haunter of the Dark.
Yes.
What do you ever just feel like Grimm Fairy Tales, there are so many issues? How do people keep up with it? Do you think we'll ever create like a Spark Notes? I know this is a good opportunity for many of our readers or many new people who aren't sure. You can always get full and real backstory on Grimm Fairy Tales by A, watching some of our past streams, but also B, we sell double-sized graphic novels, so you can get a whole, like, this is this whole arc, this is that whole arc. Think we'll ever make Spark Notes?
Well, I mean, I know we've been working for years at it, and it's just really the time and the energy that goes into it. I know Noah's been working on some stuff too, but we're trying to create almost like a character, like bio and Bible, that we can kind of make it where it's like, okay, this is the character, this is who they are, this is where they first appeared, where the other story arcs they're in. I mean, that's always been a goal, but it's really been down to manpower and time. So eventually we'll get there. We'll get something like that, like. Because that's awesome too. Like, not to plug other companies, but you'll see it on Marvel.com. You can click the character and it'll bring you to a whole page of where these characters appeared. And then like, it's really to sell the books, but it's also to give you it's like a Wikipedia, but done officially by them.
It's so useful too, because I've recently been watching The Wire. Have you ever seen The Wire?
I've only watched the first episode, and I didn't stop because I was bored. It was just like I lost track of like watching it. I eventually get to it.
You were meant for The Wire, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe not to live in the streets of Baltimore, okay? Not in Amsterdam / West Baltimore, East Baltimore. However, The Wire. So I don't know if you know this. I talked about in the beginning of the year, I was binging The Sopranos, and I binged The Wire, and The Wire is so incredible because it starts on the storyline of like authentic, drug dealers and then the cops, and then it moves on to the next storyline, which is like outsourced, so it goes further with the Russian mafia, and then it goes even further where they add in politicians, and then it goes even further where they add like students, and it just keeps going out. And I'm just like, that's how I feel a lot of our stories are, right? How you start with this internal story where we start these characters and it continues to branch out further and further and further, much like The Wire. God, I just want to plug The Wire really fast. It's amazing.
I'll put it on the list. We're making Becky watch Sopranos, so we have 3 episodes left of the whole series. So
I just finished The Sopranos.
He's never seen it, and this is my second time watching it, so maybe I'll add that to the list. But I mean, that same thing with like the Grimm stuff and like the whole Grimm universe. That's the cool thing about
Casey, was this you? She's watching that. Oh, was that you? Because I was like, I feel like Casey. Oh, Ralph, was that you? So I was like, there's no way that Casey, or maybe no, but Casey does not know what the Honeymooners is. Okay.
Or MASH.
Anyway, so 3 episodes to go on The Sopranos. God, the third to last episode too.
Yeah, no, it's good, but. No, but like to go back to the Grimm stuff, it's like that's the whole part of the universe. Like that's the thing is everything that happens slightly touches everywhere else. Especially it happens in Grimm Fairy Tales. Grimm Fairy Tales is like the thing that sets up the rest of the universe. So that's what we're doing now. Is everything that's been happening in Grimm, it's spreading out through Robin, through even Belle coming up, even in Mystere. Like everybody gets touched with it, like a little bit of what's going on because they all exist in the same world.
So all I've gained from this interview is number 1, recap. We don't know if the monster is gender of the monster. Second recap, Dave is not going to write a side story about the guy in the beginning with the coal. Third is that our universe obviously can expand as big or as small as we want it. And fourth, I don't have a fourth point.
Haunter of the Dark is the next issue.
Haunter of the Dark. Yeah.
It's based on a Lovecraft like short story of the same name.
Is 75 then going to be the run of the next arc, or you're going to keep going? Is 75? Do you consider 75 an anniversary issue?
It's an anniversary issue, and it's going to culminate most of what we're doing here, if not all of it. I mean, it's not all of it, but like it's a good chunk of what we're doing is going to wrap up in 75 and Turtles.
And then we'll be on to the next arc. That's what I love Grimm Fairy Tales, but I can see how fans might feel very overwhelmed jumping into this series because it's just been going on for what, over a decade now, at a decade.
I don't know, 18 years.
2 decades.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. The entire span, we're going on what, 19 this year?
I think we're going on 18. So yeah, it'll be 18 years.
We are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's big, but I mean, that's why we try to section them off in the smaller stories so you can kind of jump in. Yeah. A 5-panel gatefold. I don't know. That's expensive. Yeah. It's going to have some crazy stuff in it. I know that. I know people are going to be probably a little surprised at what comes up in the next, like basically from 73 to 75, it starts getting really a little more intense and building up to something. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming up. You're going to see like tie-ins to this story called like Keys of Cthulhu. That's coming up. It's going in Diamond for next month. But you'll see there's gonna be a ton of stuff coming up. Like we're really going heavy into this Lovecraft stuff to round out the end of this story arc. And then it's going to affect things as we go forward. So it's not going to just end at 75. Like the arc might hit a ending point, but all the stuff that happened during is going to keep going.
I'm just reading because my beret. I only put on a beret today because I didn't want to do my hair. I have like before NCW, I have a back-to-back meeting, and so then I come into NCW and I don't have my hair. But I am feeling. I did want to rock my beret last 2 NCWs ago, and I didn't. So people don't care. But like Dave said, 75 going to be a big issue arc. One day Spark Notes version for everybody who cannot read the double-sized novels because they will take forever. But you'll also have all the time in the world because when you binge something and it's gone, you feel empty, much like I feel for the last 7 hours about finishing The Wire this morning.
Well, what's your favorite cover? You didn't even say what your favorite cover was.
I really liked cover B this go around just because, again, I was like, wow, this thing just goes through your head. And all of them are pretty strong covers, but I like a good what we can see of the villain cover every so often because they only get a shining star for a second, right? Like they get one issue to be it, and then usually it's on to the next villain. That's not always true, but maybe for this villain, it kind of is.
We'll see.
Yeah. What's your favorite cover, Dave?
I might have to get a few beers in me, and then afterwards I'll have to release a statement redacting all the things I said while I was drunk.
This is what's going to happen at the VIP event. I'm going to sit Dave down. I'm going to throw some shots his way, and then I'm going to take out my recorder on my phone, and I'm going to be like, Dave.
We're going to go through every book. You have every cover there. You're like, give me your top 80.
I can be like, you can trust me, Dave, and then I'll secretly be recording, and then you're right. Then he'll have to release a redacted statement, and then I'll have to release an apology statement that I didn't get his permission unless somehow I get his permission beforehand on recorder, and then he'll say that even though I got the recording, it was only his voice and not his image. I've thought a lot about this, way more than I should have.
Probably, I would say so. at least it was it's fine.
What are you most hyped for the VIP event before I let you go?
I mean, I love, like, honestly, my favorite part, like, I love, like, New Orleans is awesome. Like, New Orleans is a fun time. But my favorite thing with these VIP events, it's just like you get to meet the fans. Like, that's the coolest. That's why I love doing conventions too. Like, you get to meet people that actually like the stuff we produce and create, and you get to nerd out with them and be excited about it, and you get to understand why they love it. Like, that's always cool to me. Is like, what do they like about the stuff and why do they love it? Whether it's the covers, whether it's the stories, whether it's both or whatever like that. I don't know. That's always cool. I like people. Like, so I'll just, like, I could, like, even when we used to do the convention before I did sales, like, I would just sit at the bar and just talk to people. Like, I just, like, they build on the stories, and, like, I don't know. That's my favorite thing is just meeting everybody and getting to hang out with people I don't normally get to hang out with.
I haven't seen Dave since New York, right? It's been...
Yeah,
oh, wait, no. I came to the office in December. I haven't seen Dave in 2 months, and I hope to see Dave. Well, I will see Dave, God willing, in New Orleans. But if you guys haven't signed up for NOLA yet, we're still selling tickets, right? Are we still selling tickets?
I don't know.
Ralph, are we still selling tickets? Casey, are we still selling tickets? Okay, it's giving me the thumbs up. What are you wearing right now? Are you cold?
Talking to me?
I'm talking to Ralph, who's in the
I
background
was like,
in the jacket. Oh, it's you're cold. Okay. He's in depression because the Eagles lost, and I don't think he's moved on from it. I'm sorry. Thank you. He's flipping me off into camera. Okay. So we are still selling tickets for the VIP event. This is it. This is your final chance. Do you want to hang out with Dave and be a part of him unveiling what his favorite cover is? You could be a part of that experience. Okay.
of roofing me to give you my favorite covers. You could be a part of this crime.
I'm sorry, Sammy. Well, when we do Philly, hopefully you can come then. But if you can come, I would definitely come to the VIP event because I'll be there and I'm excited to see everybody. And, you know, as my schedule gets more and more hectic, getting somebody calling from the UK right now, as my schedule gets more and more hectic. Yes. Should I bring, is that Ralph that texted or is that Casey? I can't tell if he's making fun of me. I never know.
If you can't tell, then the answer is probably yes.
Yay! Georgia, you'll be at it. I'm excited. I'm excited to meet a lot of people that I didn't get to meet. I didn't get to go to Philly because I was in London. And this time I'm going to be flying directly from Amsterdam and Barcelona. So maybe I'll just wear something that's more authentic to that. You're right. I won't need a beret because I won't be coming from France. I'll be coming from Barcelona / Amsterdam. So
rub it in.
It's going to be a crazy week for me on lead up. Speaking of, if you do want to see me in person, or you want to see Casey in person, or you want to see Jason in person, or Noah in person, we'll be at Emerald City. We'll be at Emerald City in 2 weeks. I lied. 1 week. I had to do the math. We'll be in NOLA in 2 weeks. We'll be in Emerald City in 1 week.
As years go by.
I know it's really flying. I can't believe we're already in March. So
Emerald City VIP event, then C2E2?
We're not doing C2, we're doing MegaCon.
Okay.
MegaCon. Then for those, I know that I believe Andrew, Catherine, Kong, and somebody else are coming to Star Wars Celebration with me. So London, I'll be at Star Wars Celebration London if you're there. And then I think it's Motor City for you guys.
Yeah, it's in May. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. Anyway, Dave, it was lovely having you on. Start working on our Sparks Note version and side story of the Family Man character in the opening of the story. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'll say it.
So again, like we talked about today, there was only one release, which is, Edwin, you're coming to London. You'll be at Star Wars. What days will you be there? We should hang out. You'll see me in Morning Q at 5 a.m. if you'd like to be there. Anyway, so today's release, Grimm Fairy Tales at number 69. Nice. You can check it out on our web store, $3.99. You can go back and read our last stories. Like I mentioned, if you ever want a full scope of Grimm Fairy Tales, go back and read our double-sized graphic novels. We do sales on them all the time. Or if you come to an event, we do a really, really good deal on them. That reading will have you, booked for a good part of the year. So make sure you check that out. Next week, we'll be doing one release again, and we'll have our own editor-in-chief, David Wall, on to talk about Oz, Return of the Wicked Witch, number 3, which will be the conclusion of Return of the Wicked Witch. If you have missed the other 2 parts of that, released earlier this year and the end of last year, go back and watch those interviews on Return of the Wicked Witch so you can get some good backstory on what is happening in that storyline. Other stuff that's happening. There's a movie club tonight. I forgot about that. Movie club is tonight, happening in a mere 2.5 hours. Join our lovely host guests. They are all going to be in attendance, and Drive. I've never seen Drive, so I'm excited to hear the feedback that they have for you tonight. So Drive. Our next retailer live stream is in person. So if you're coming to the NOLA event and you're coming in early, which hopefully you are because Friday night will be a lovely hangout session with everybody, head to More Fun Comics, where there will be a signing taking place. It will be our first in-person comic broadcast of 2023, broadcast or 2023, really like that. Check it out. It will be a very, very fun time to hang out. The pre-show, a couple of fans usually go to that, and you have a good opportunity to get the FaceTime that you really want with certain people if it's harder throughout the rest of the day. NOLA, we've said it one more time. This is it. The final opportunity to come hang out with Casey, Jason, Noah, Mike, our 3 incredible artists, our creator team that I know you want to meet in person, as well as myself. It'll be a lot of fun, and will be a fantastic way to meet many of the VIPs in person that you maybe have not met in person before, but have talked to over stream. Plus, you'll get some really rare and awesome collectibles. And we always have a few surprises, a few fun games, a lot of giveaways. So, it's easily worth the ticket because it'll be our biggest turnout yet. Yay! Then make sure that you tune in with Coffee and Casey and Noah. That's happening at 1 p.m. on Monday. Other important things, like I mentioned, our first convention appearance will take place next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Seattle, Emerald City Comic Con, in the new building, which I have never been to, so I'm excited to see. I believe that's it on my announcements. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I missed. Probably not. So tune in next Wednesday where we'll hang out and we'll talk about NCW. But if not, make sure that you tune in tonight for Movie Club, next Monday for Coffee with Casey and Noah, then NCW, and then chill with everybody the following week. That is it. This is Amber signing off with NCW. We're here at Zenescope. You come for the covers, but you stay for the stories. I will see everybody next Wednesday. Bye, everybody.